Hi, it's Jordantine1, and in this tutorial I'm going to give a brief review of the Wrapit refill pack, and then I'm going to show you how to make this really neat bracelet or keychain that you can make. It has hearts and says the word mom, and I think it would be perfect for Mother's Day or just to show your love for your mom anytime. You're going to receive 425 beads, and they come in 8 different colors. So some of these colors are the same ones that come in the Wrapit Loom kit, and then this one has some different colors. For example, there's orange and red. You'll also receive 5 meters of the wrap line and 5 meters of the nylon cord, and then 5 buttons. So I think the shapes and colors differ by each package, but in this one I had 2 hearts, a flower, and then 2 squares. The final thing that comes in the refill kit is this instruction sheet that shows you how to make these 5 different bracelets. So what's really nice is it shows you exactly how many buttons you need, how much cord, how much wrap line, and then at the bottom it has this measurement. So if you don't have a ruler or a yardstick handy, you can just go ahead and use this. I've cut my wrap line to about 48 inches, and then for my cord I cut that to about 28 inches. They recommend for their bracelets around 30 inches. I find that a little bit long. What you can always do is just measure your wrist. You want to have this doubled in half and then wrap it around your wrist, and you can measure that accordingly. Now if you were going to make a keychain, you could do even shorter. And then I have a red heart button that I'm going to be using for my end. So I'm just going to take one piece of the nylon and I'm going to slide this through. Sometimes it goes through easily and sometimes it's a real struggle. Just depends on how frayed your end is. So I'm going to pull that through and then just push it straight back. And then what I'm going to do is make this completely even here. So just get my 2 ends to be in line with one another. Get the button. And then I'm going to make a knot in the very end. So I'm going to leave this a little bit loose until I slide it all the way up to the top, and then I'm going to tighten it. And then for my bracelet pattern, it's going to be about 6 inches in between my knots. So let me just measure that. So my one knot at the end is at the 6, so I want the other one to be right about here. And of course, if you need yours longer, you can always space it out. As far as your beads go, you can put extra rows of your background color in between your letters and your hearts if you need it longer. Make my knot. And then if you did want to make a bracelet out of this, you could go about 3/4 of an inch and make another knot. So I'm going to do mine into a keychain, so I'm just going to leave the one knot. Now I'm ready to put this on the loom, so I'm going to start on the clamp side here. I'm going to put my button in between this piece that separates. Just going to slide that right on in. And if you want, you can use the rubber band for an extra security to hold your button in place. I'm going to make sure that these nylon strings are completely straight, and then I'm going to slide it into the clip. So let me just slide this up. Again, it separates here, so just slide that in. And then what you're going to do is just pull back about 3 clicks, so 1, 2, 3, until it's nice and taut. And then I like to just spread this apart just a little bit, because you're going to have to be working in between there. So to make your mom bracelet the same exact way that I did, you're going to need a total of 145 beads. So I used a total of 87 white and 58 red. Now to have enough white beads to make this, I did have to use basically all of the white beads that came in the Loom kit and also the refill kit. But you can just go to your local craft store and pick up some more beads if you want different colors or you run out of colors. And if you get the 6/0 beads, those are about the closest size. I'm going to be including a grid pattern for you to follow along with. I'm going to be starting the bracelet with you so you can get the general concept of how to make this type of bracelet, and then I'm going to go ahead and let you finish it on your own. So the first thing that we need to do is to take our wrap line. I'm going to lay the wrap line over top of the nylon, and then I'm going to take either end and I'm going to come below that, and I'm going to come right up in between. Grab those and pull them all the way so they're nice and tight. And I want to keep the strings on their respective sides here. And I also want to make sure that the two ends are completely even with one another before I get started. I'm going to slide that all the way up to the top. And it's easy for them to get crossed before you get any beads on. Then what I'm going to do is take my first bead. I'm going to put one side through, take the other side, slide that through. I'm going to take both ends here and very carefully slide this bead all the way so it's nice and tight, and push it all the way up to the top. Then what's important that you don't forget is you're going to take your wrap line, you're going to take either side, come up through from the bottom, and wrap it around. So that's a step that's easy to forget, but it's important. Next I have 2 white beads. So again, I want to get them on the one side. I'm going to always string them on the right first. Just find that easier. I think it's because I'm right-handed. And then I always go about an inch or so down. And then I take the other side, slide that through. Make sure that you have both ends here. And then you're just going to pull each side and make sure it's nice and snug. And again, pull these up through and put them each to their own side. Next I have 3 white beads. And the widest that this is going to get is 5 beads. So you can see we're gradually getting this widened out. Make sure they all 3 get through. Again, make it nice and tight. Make sure they're all the way up against. And then either side is going to pull up through and go back to their side. In the next row we have 4 white beads. So this is actually our last row of just all white. Then we're going to start our heart pattern. So obviously the more beads that you put on a bracelet, the more of the wrap line you're going to need because you're using up a little bit more with each row. A lot of times in the instruction sheets they only show just a short, maybe like 3 beads. So I wasn't really sure how well it would work with 4 beads, 5 beads, and so on. But it seems to work out pretty well. I think if you got really crazy and did, tried to do 10 beads, I don't think that would work out quite as well. Again, pull it through Move to the sides. In row 5 we have the 2 reds, a white, and 2 reds. So it's really pretty easy. It's just a matter of following your grid pattern. If you've ever made any alpha loom bracelets, it's really the same exact concept. You're just using beads instead of rubber bands. So just slide these through. Helps if you have good hand-eye coordination. I feel like I'm a little bit fumbly here today with getting it to go through. Again, just make sure that it's nice and snug against, and then bring them up through. The next row we have all red. So we're getting down into the main section of the heart here. And of course, if you wanted to, you could take the concepts. If you didn't want to do a mom bracelet, you could just take some of the concepts, like the hearts. You could just make an all heart bracelet. Or you could make a name bracelet with different letters of the alphabet. Pull them up through again. In row 7 we have white on either end, and then the 3 reds in the center. In row 8 we have our last row of the heart pattern. So we have white on the ends and then just the 1 red in the very center. So this is the last row I'll do with you. And by this time you should have the concept of what to do. Just going to follow the rest of the pattern, or your own pattern that you've created. If I can get these to go through here. Sometimes they just do not want to cooperate. There we go. And then once again, pull them up through. So you can go ahead and complete the rest of the pattern on your own, and then I'll show you what to do to finish it off. Now I've completed my bracelet or my keychain here, and I did wind up tying a second knot just so I could have a little bit more room to work here. I tied it loosely because I am going to untie it. I have my bands that came up through, and with my wrap line here, I'm just going to tie this off. So just as if I was tying a shoelace, I'm going to make a really nice and tight knot. I'm going to do it probably 3 times here. And another thing that you can do, which I think I am going to do, let me just take this off. is, first of all, if you're using a bracelet, you would need this second knot to slide your button through to hold this on. But since I'm making a keychain out of it, I'm going to go ahead and undo this second knot I made. And I'm actually going to go ahead and undo the first knot, just because what I'm going to do is take all of these loops, take my loose wrap band strings here, and I'm going to try and tie these all together. You can just cut them off, but I find that over time these do work loose, especially with the type or the texture of the fabric. So I'm just going to go ahead and tie those in there. And that's just going to give it some added security. So I'm going to go ahead and trim these, or if you wanted to for a keychain, if you wanted to leave them longer, you could do that. I hope that everyone loves their new mom bracelets or keychains, and I hope that the moms that are receiving these are thrilled to get them. You can always leave me comments on YouTube and Facebook. You can post pictures of your creations to my Facebook page, and please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that way you can stay up to date on my latest tutorials. You can also find me on Pinterest and Instagram, so please feel free to subscribe to those as well, and please post your pictures and comments there too. Thanks for watching!